So now that we have our zombie attack ability set up, how we want, I want to go ahead and start working on the logic that is going to eventually make its way down into, well, performing the damage to our player. So if we look really quick, we have our activate ability. And the idea here is at some point in the given montage, so let's actually, head to said montage. We'll just open one of them. What I want to do is make it to where at a certain point we have some kind of notify. So say, right here, for example, we can perform a anim notify, which will send a gameplay event to our zombie, and our zombie will perform, its trace and all that kind of stuff to try and apply damage. So the way we can do that is through something we already made. So if we go down here to notifies, we can right click and next we got to go down a little farther. We can add a notify and the anim notify send gameplay event to owner. So this we made earlier on, and we need just a simple event tag. So let's go ahead and make a tag. And we also need a tag in general because of our gameplay event. So our state tree event, which use test.generic tag. So let's go to our core module, data, tags, and go to our gameplay event tags, and we'll simply add a new one. And let's call this one gameplay event underscore zombie underscore attack, something like that. Either attack or attacked. We'll do attack. And then we want another. We don't really need, I guess it could technically be a gameplay event that is related to zombie underscore new closest player. So we're going to have both of these. So let's go to the CPP, swap the two out like so, and gameplay event dot zombie dot attack and gameplay event dot zombie dot new closest player. So now that we have that in our zombie attack ability, we want to start listening for a gameplay event that we are sending, specifically the zombie attack event. So in the header here, we want a new ability task. So U property, do a T object pointer to a U ability task. Let's do wait gameplay event or declare and call this one the, let's do attack wait event received. Or yeah, we'll just do attack wait event task. So let's create a new one. So that is going to equal a U ability task, wait gameplay event. Make sure to include it. And wait gameplay event. This being the owning ability, and then the tag being tag underscore gameplay event underscore zombie attack. So we need to include data tags gameplay event tags dot h. Then lastly, I don't know if there's anything else. We do not care about anything else actually, but we do want be only trigger once. So we can pass in a null pointer and then false. So be only trigger once, well, is false. Now we want the event. So in our case, we want the, I do not remember the name. We want event received. So event received dot add dynamic. Let's call it U gameplay ability zombie attack on attack. Let's call it notify received. So make a U function, void on attack notify received, and it takes in some events, a parameter. So F gameplay event data, and it's called payload. So we want that payload. And there we go. Now we just have to simply activate it. So let's grab the attack wait event task and call activate. So we play the montage and we wait for a notify /event from that montage. So specifically, once the montage hits this point here, we want to do something. So once we, receive it, we can go ahead and perform some kind of, say, trace. So for now, I'm just going to UV log temp, warning, text, and blah, 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 just to make sure that it is in fact being received. So let's go ahead, recompile, relaunch, and make sure our log gets printed out about at the halfway point of the attack. Okay, once we are back in the editor, let's give it a quick test. So zombie spawns, performs the attack, and I forgot to set the tag. So let's go back to here and set the event tag to be ability, not ability, gameplay event, zombie attack. And let's also actually do this for the attack 2 as well. So let's see, about, I guess here we can go ahead and paste in that event. It's going to have the exact same tag. Let's make sure. So we get the attack, and there's our print. And it is running. Okay, so that fired twice. That fired 3 times. And 4 times. So we have a little bit of a build-up problem. So we'll resolve that here shortly. So next up, we did add that other tag, which is the event tag for here. So let's go to our zombie find and attack player state tree. And in the event, that is when a new, closest player is found, we want to change the tag to zombie.new closest player. And likewise, in our zombies player controller, the event we want to send is also going to be that gameplay event.zombie.new closest player. So that way we just have, consistent tags that we can access through C++ if we need to, because that logic there in the player controller, we are going to be rewriting in C++ at some point to make it a little bit faster. Okay, so now let's check why things are kind of doubling up, and I actually immediately see why. So I think I read this wrong as only trigger once, and I set it to false. I actually want it to be true. So we have our, only trigger once set to true. Let's just make sure that it no longer kind of keeps compounding. So we can rebuild and give it a try. So we do 1 attack, prints out once. We do 2 attacks, and it prints out once. So I'd say we are good to go in that aspect. Okay. So even when we go close, you can see the brain is still running because it's trying to attack the player. So that's something we're going to do as an optimization as well. And it's basically going to be clean up like anything, AI related. We basically just need to turn it all off. And we can actually probably get away with just destroying the AI controller altogether. So we'll just have to see. But anyhow, we have our attack set up. We have our print running. So we are receiving the corresponding attack. So now what we want to do is from kind of our, I guess you could say our player's eyes, more or less. Maybe we'll do the head bone, not 100% sure, but we want to get kind of some starting point to perform a pretty large trace. And the trace is simply going to just be sweeping for anything that is a pawn. So we will be able to hit, multiple players at once, for example. So in our case, we want to draw a debug sweep or debug swept sphere. So let's grab those, or that debug include. So Kismet trace utils.h. We pass in the world. And then we need the start and radius and all of that stuff. So we want to go ahead and, figure out a start location. So we can get the avatar actor from actor info. And if we search for eye, we have the get actor's eyes viewpoint, and that'll take out the F vector location and F rotator rotation. So we pass these in like so, and that should give us a rough starting point. So we want the location. I'm trying to avoid having to use, sockets and stuff like that, at least for now. Then we need a endpoint. So we need some position out in front of this location. So F vector, let's call it just simply end, is going to equal the location plus the rotation dot vector. And we want to multiply it by the trace distance, which in our case we can do, say, we'll do 100. So now we have our end. Then we want the radius. So as a test, we can visualize it. So let's just do, 25. And then F color, we'll do red. Persistent lines, we can actually just make it true so we can visually see it. So now let's expose this and this as properties so we can tweak and find some good, starting values. So in the header, let's make another U property. And we'll do a float. Let's do attack range. And we'll set it to 100 by default. Now let's do float attack radius and set it to 25 by default. So let's change 100 to attack range and 25 to attack radius. And now we should be able to visualize the actual attack. So let's close this down, recompile, and relaunch. Okay, once we are back in the editor, let's go ahead and head back to our attack ability, which we need to move somewhere, just so we have our defaults. So let's give this a try and see the attack. Okay, so that is basically the size. Let's view it from the side. So range-wise, it could probably be maybe a smidge shorter. Let's do slow-mo 0.1 and watch the end of the hand. So we could make it, I'd say, probably a little bit shorter overall. So instead of 25, we'll do, instead of 100, we'll do, say, try like 90. And then for the radius, let's bump that up to 50. So let's make it pretty large. Because if the player is, for example, trying to, crouch, that's going to be a slight problem. Okay, so there's the size. And we can kind of see from the top. So, okay, so that was a side sweep. I want to see the top. Son of a gun, I hate how it keeps locking it up. Alright, fine. I'll just leave it and have it play slow. So hopefully it's a top swing. Nope. It's another side, which is not quite wide enough, but it's, I'd say, pretty wide. So hopefully now to do the top one, my luck, I'm going to end up just getting some kind of bad luck of 10 of these being the wrong attack. Okay. So it resets. And we have our another attack. Please be the up top. Maybe. Which it is, and that is actually right along the hands. So in terms of size, I'm pretty happy with that, because if we crouch, it's going to be, okay, I can't actually show it. If we crouch, it'll be something kind of like that, so we might still be able to get it to hit us, but we'll just have to play around with it when we get there. So we want 90 and 50. And honestly, we can probably lower the start location quite a bit too. So what I want to do is take the start location and we'll just subtract on the z by a certain amount. So location.z minus equals, let's do something like half the radius. So attack radius times 0.5. And now we can kind of see roughly where that puts it. So that should allow us to basically, get attacked a lot more consistently if we are, below the zombie. So let's go ahead and press play. Go to slow-mo. And yeah, that is pretty good because we'd have to be pretty low to, miss that. And I doubt we're going to be any lower than this. And we'd still be able to be hit. Okay, so we want 90 and 50 for the values. So attack range is 90 and attack radius is 50. That'll be our new defaults. So we can close out of this. And yeah, basically we are ready to continue with the actual logic to apply the damage. So that's going to be all for this video. And in the next video, we will, set up health for our player pawn. So that way we can, tell the player pawn that, hey, you have been damaged and take away the damage. So I'll see you then. If you like what I'm doing and you want to help support me, you can find a link to my Patreon in the description below, where you can also get early access to this entire series.